I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way.
Welcome.
Gone are the dark clouds that had me.
Hello. Got Nat here with me too.
I am here.
Bright, sunshiny day.
Wow. This song brings so many memories. 2014, Bob played it in the seminar room.
Bob's favourite song. If you're joining us, just say hi. We'd love to see who's joining. Good to have you here.
Welcome. So,
Hey, Bronny.
hey guys.
Hey there.
Well, we were inspired to share lessons from a legend, and the name came so clearly. Bob is truly legendary, and I'm going to keep thinking and feeling and acting like he's here, because the truth is he is here. When the body goes, it's not who we are. We're not our body. And that's a lesson Bob taught us. And so Bob is with us. And today his energy is filtering through. And I know that this is a tribute to Bob. These are lessons that have touched us personally. These are things we've learned from traveling to Canada, being live at events, from live streaming events, from then having the pleasure of working with Bob.
Very closely.
Very closely and intimately. And so we're very blessed to be sharing these gems with you. And these are life-changing gems. What Bob stood for, he didn't stand for being liked or Facebook likes and things like that. It was all about impact. It was all about helping people. And that to me is already a lesson in itself, right? The desire to serve.
Had a strong desire to help people. And in fact, we were talking about this yesterday on a coaching call with our clients, and I was saying like if he could, he would give in all his time and energy to helping each individual that wanted his help, right? Go to an event and everyone wanted just a few minutes of his time, and he would willingly give that to people. It was people within the company were saying, Bob, you need to come now. But he would willingly give his time, and time and space was his only limitation that he had here in this third dimension. And now that he's transitioned, he hasn't got that limitation anymore. He's not restricted by time and space. He can be anywhere, everywhere at the same time, helping each and every single person who asks for his guidance. And I know from my experience over the last, since he's transitioned, when I ask for guidance from Bob, if I ask him a question, I'm getting an answer straight away. I know, Nat, you're experiencing the same thing. The answers are loud and clear in Bob's voice. And it's so amazing because we're not the only ones experiencing it. We know there are other people around the world that have said exactly the same thing. And this is so special that he's still able to help people from beyond the physical world in such a greater way than he was before.
Absolutely. And, it dawned on me that even beyond our physical lifetime, our physical body's life, that the intentions we set and the goals that we set, and every time we visualize and apply all these amazing lessons, that the work is being done even after our time here. So all of Bob's dreams, visions, goals are still moving into form beyond his physical presence, right? And this is the magic. And it's because there is no end. It's infinite. And the thoughts we put out keep going on and on and on. And we must really value our thoughts. We must value. And I think that brings me to one of the most important lessons is the power of our thought, the power of intention, that we're either really spending or investing, thinking, actions, all of it, and it's just beginning. I said that to somebody, in PGI. I feel like we're now, the work is being done through us, but the vision continues to keep unfolding. And it's because energy is ever present, ongoing, no
Well,
end.
well, isn't it amazing how an idea or a set of ideas have taken on a life of its own,
Mhm.
and the ideas will never die. Like the ideas can live. Like if you think of Jesus, right? There's been 2,000 years, 2,000, and the ideas are still living on, right?
Mm.
And so ideas will live long beyond our physical presence. And what Bob has created, he's taken ideas from all these other people. They're not, he openly said himself, these are not my ideas, right? He studied, amazing, amazing mentors. He had the guidance of amazing mentors. He studied thousands and thousands of books. I was looking at his library collection just the other night. So thousands and thousands and thousands of books, right, that he's studied. And he's taken these ideas and he's applied them in his life and he's put them together in an organized way to help people,
Yeah.
right? He helped himself and he's also helped other people with the same ideas. So those ideas will continue beyond his physical presence.
Absolutely. So I just want to first and foremost welcome each and every one of you here. And if we have opportunities to answer questions, we will do our best. Um, these are lessons that we have personally learned. So I'm just going to kick it over to you, Matt, straight away. What is one thing that comes to mind? Like if we think back where we were in 2014, I think of us as kids back then with this starry-eyed. We had watched The Secret. That's how we found out about Bob. We watched The Secret, and this life started to get ignited in us. Take me back. Take us all back to that initial impact that Bob's had on you.
Well, I just always go back to something that's so simple that Bob did was he helped me to just connect to what I really wanted. Okay. And he always said, what do you really want? Okay. Not what do you think you can have? What do other people want for you? It's what do you really want? And he just really opened up my mind and allowed me to dream big, to think big. Okay. It allowed me to go there. In fact, I remember every time we went to one of Bob Proctor's seminars, every single time, we would leave there like excited and like shaking at the same time because our goals got so much bigger, right? Because he just did that to you. He elevated your belief that yes, I can do it. Why am I aiming small? Why can't I just have what I really want? Okay. And so he would always, through his belief, transfer that belief to you by connecting you to what you really, or connecting me to what I really wanted. And I'm sure you experience the same thing because we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that initial what do you want? And the truth is, I don't know if you resonate with this, but I was that child that I almost would get in trouble for wanting so many things. And I was always wanting and asking, and to the point that then I stopped voicing what I wanted. I stopped thinking it was possible for me. And I was at a point back in 2014 at the start of the year where I thought, well, some people were just lucky, and I didn't get given those cards of success and all of this stuff. And to me, what jazzed me the most was he made me believe, he helped me believe that I could change in this lifetime. I could change my whole future and the future of our family. And it awoke this desire to dream more, but it also unshackled me in a lot of ways in thinking, wow, I can change this. I can be that person that, I always wished to be or would think, oh, they're lucky. I can be that. And that was the first step, of really transferring that. You're not stuck, like you're not doomed, and it doesn't matter what the heck's happened and what your current situation you're in, you can transform it like night and day. And he would say that, he said, 6 months from now, you need a telescope to see how far you've come. And when you really do embody and apply the principles that he teaches, that's exactly what happens.
Well, and that's the key thing there, right? It's always principle over precedent. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past, right? If you study Bob for any period of time, you know it's always about working with the law.
Absolutely.
He's always helping you and encouraging you to understand the law, but also to apply in your life, because the laws work in the exact way. They don't change from you to me or from us to them or from Bob to us. Like, it does not change. The laws work in an exact and precise manner. And when you work in harmony with them, things will start improving in your life. You're not violating laws. If you don't understand them, you don't know if you're working with them or violating them. So, Bob always encouraged us to go and study the law, study what I'm teaching you, because he spent 60 years studying the laws in great depth, and the spiritual side of life, right, was something that he had a huge interest in, and he went into great depth in studying the non-physical part. So, when we work and bring ourselves in harmony with it, you can start intentionally and consciously creating the life that you want.
Yeah.
Right? So you discover and connect with, what do I really want? And then you begin this transformation process of aligning yourself in harmony with what you want. Right? And the first thing he made a huge point of is that we've been programmed.
Absolutely. That idea is so liberating again. I look at the liberation because it's like, oh my God, yes, I'm not doomed. That makes so much sense now, that, oh, it didn't mean that I wasn't smart enough, and it didn't mean that I, didn't have the lucky wand. None of that mattered. All it meant was there's a programming that is keeping me from being that person and having that life that I want. And that's all that is. It's not a big deal. And the most empowering thing is learning how to change it.
Yeah. And some of the programming is actually good.
Absolutely.
The programming is not a bad thing. It just is. But if you look at anything in your life right now, that is a reflection of your conditioning, your conditioned beliefs, conditioned habits, okay? Because that is what is controlling your behavior and producing the results and creating the environment in your outside world, right? And so when you can say, okay, well, I don't like this part of my life, or I want to upgrade this part of my life, well, we know that we have to go into the conditioning, the subconscious conditioning. Okay. It's not about consciously knowing something or knowing that you need to change something, because there's many things. If you reflect for a moment, there are many things that you should change or that you shouldn't do, but you're doing, right? It's going on a subconscious level and accepting the idea emotionally. And that alters your vibration, which then changes your behavior and produces new results.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the beautiful thing about changing your conditioning is when you do it, it's now permanent.
Yeah.
And to me, that excited me because I had a vision for my life, and I didn't just want to pitter patter and forward and back. I wanted to keep launching and changing. And I must say, we also are truly blessed to have had Ollie come with us. He wasn't even 2 when he met Bob, the first time. And, he's now applying this, and he's just turned 9. He's not just learning it and hearing it, he's applying it at 9. And it just blows me away. I think I was waiting, where you're just putting all these investing seeds in and in and in. And now he can literally teach someone what he's doing to transform his results.
Funny story. A few weeks ago, he had a friend come over for like a sleepover, and I overheard a conversation, and he said, Aaron, he goes, he said, what did he say? Manifestation works. It always works. He goes, you just visualize what you want. And it was so cute, but it was so rewarding as a parent at the same time, because, that's a reflection of what he's had in his environment for so many years now, right? He knows that if he wants something, he can manifest it. He can create it in his life, right? By setting the intention and following a process, right? He is working with the law constantly.
Yeah, constantly. And that's so rewarding. And to me, it's one of the most psychological incomes, right? Because it's so enriching.
But if you think about it, he doesn't know any better. Like, think about it. He's been, since the age of just before 2, this is all he's known.
Yeah.
And we have our son Eli, who's 5. He doesn't know anything else. And we have our daughter Chloe, she's 2. And they're all gonna just literally be programmed from birth, not to be perfect, okay? Because I don't think I'm perfect right now. I'm constantly working at getting better. I'm constantly working at understanding this better. But they're so much more further ahead than we were when we were children, right?
Absolutely.
And when we first started this.
So true. And I truly believe, and Bob said this, if you want to help others, help yourself first. And it's not a selfish thing. It's, well, we could foresee where our life was going if nothing changed, and I think that was such a pivotal moment where, someone asked us, it was one of the coaches, guys, if you keep doing what you're doing, if you keep thinking the way you're thinking and doing what you're doing, what's going to change 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And that scared me more than anything. I was like, oh my God, I could foresee what we would be doing, where we would be, the position we would be in, all of that. And a lot of it was repeating patterns that we grew up with. And the life we wanted was nowhere near in harmony with the same patterns. So we had to upgrade, and we continue to do so, upgrade our programming to match the vision. And I think one of the most valuable things, I'm going to say this over and over again, is that we have learned how to change it. We have learned how to change it for ourselves. And by understanding the process and applying it, we understand how to help others now change the process and change their programming. And that's the beautiful thing.
Yeah. The thing with change is, right? When you want to create change, there's some level of sacrifice. You have to be willing to give up the old version of yourself to welcome the new version of yourself. And there was something that I heard Bob say. He said, you got to be willing to give up something of a lower nature for something of a higher nature. He always spoke about that. Okay. And so an example he gave was that if you're got a bad temper and you want to have more friends in your life, well, you have to give up that bad temper for the friendships. Otherwise, if you're not sacrificing the bad temper for the friendships, you're actually going to be sacrificing the friendships for your bad temper, right? So you have to be willing to give up the old habit to allow the new habit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Or the new belief or the new things in your life. You have to be willing to sacrifice something. It's not about hard.
No.
It can be very simple, but you have to be disciplined to apply it.
Yes. And it really is. I think I remember leaving that first seminar, and I must say my mind got so expanded. And there were so many impactful moments. I remember we had put everything, it felt like, on the line to be there. Like, we borrowed money we didn't even know we could borrow. We took our son, we left him with a nanny. We'd never left him with anyone before. Like, there was so much discomfort. But our desire to change our future was so much greater than any of that. The journey, even on the airplane, and all the stuff that happened, missing a flight and crying, and like, it was a journey in itself to be there. And I remember sitting in the room. I actually remember which table I was at. And he looked at me straight in the eye. He actually knew that we put everything to be there. And I swear he was talking straight at us. It felt like it. He said, "You did not come this far to just come this far." And I had tears in my eyes, and it was literally like a poof in the gut. Like, Bob had that ability to just give you that punch in the gut that you need, so the program gets kicked out for that moment. And that was that moment for me. Do you remember that?
Absolutely. He's a very powerful speaker. And it's like you just think he's speaking directly to you, but he's speaking to your soul. You know the truth when you hear it, and he speaks the truth. He doesn't fluff things up to make them sound nice. Like, he just speaks and says what you need to hear so you can make the change. Like, he had such a strong desire to help you change. He'd just be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't fluff it around. But a key thing is that, and I look back at what we did, and the key lesson that he taught us was that, the circumstances might not be where you want them to be in order for you to keep progressing. But you have to disconnect from your senses in order to create a greater life for yourself. You have to start developing and tapping into your higher mental faculties, right? The mental faculties are your key, they're your key to creating this new life for yourself. Okay, you have your will, your imagination, your perception, your memory, your intuition. Okay, you have these faculties that enable you to get out of the physical world and tap into the spiritual world, okay, and create something where there are no conditions and circumstances. Like you have a blank canvas and you can create absolutely anything that you want. As beautiful as you want it to be, as big as you want it to be, it can be whatever you really want. It does not matter what's happened up until this point. And when you really understand the creative process, you're not going to be wondering if it's going to happen. This is one thing you really, really instilled in me, is the faith. Okay, because he's helped me understand. When you really develop the understanding, your faith increases. Okay, and so through all my study, I know now I don't have to wonder if it's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. I know 100% certain, as long as I don't change my mind, as long as I don't decide I want something different, I know that'll move into physical form.
And as long as you keep doing the work,
Absolutely.
And what is the work? Well, the work is the changing of the programming. The work is altering the new self-image to be in harmony with the goal, and this is where a lot of people can trip up. And I know you can attest to this, where you were reading the books, you were watching YouTube videos, and you were like, what am I missing? Because things aren't changing. And the biggest thing that's missing is you can be doing a lot of what we call external things that are still positive. It's not that visualizing isn't a positive thing, or meditating and doing that. But if you are not actively altering your programming and be in harmony with the program from the goal achieved, then it'll stay away from you. And I think that is probably, Bob taught that better than anyone I've ever heard in my life, of how to do that, of how to change this programming. And this is where you can literally look back and see you've created a quantum leap. But the program keeps people captive, because you can be thinking of the goal, you can be imagining, but then in your waking day, your old program's in control. And I think that every time that you understand this and apply this, that's where you're winning it, and you're winning it. And the new program is taking hold. And the old one will just die from a lack of nourishment. And to me, I see that as a privilege, an honor, and a gift to be the generation, the person in my family that changes our entire future, an entire legacy. My question would be to ask yourself, what legacy do you want to leave behind? For your family, maybe for your business, what legacy do you want to leave behind? So when your time is done on this planet Earth for this lifetime, what impact did you want to make? What difference did you want to make? And to me, these are questions that make me move. These are questions that make me reevaluate everything again.
And I think I'm taking myself mentally back to where I was when we first got into this. And, I don't think I was thinking that big, right? Because I was unfulfilled with my career. I was, financially, I was just like trying to get ahead financially, right? So my mind wasn't going to what legacy I want to leave or impact I want to make. And some people might, think the same way in this current situation. I think the key thing is you connect to what you want.
Yeah.
And when you get there, you can keep thinking bigger and bigger, right? As you keep raising your awareness, you can keep thinking bigger and what legacy, and because your belief is going up, and like, wow, I'm gonna change this, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna create this, and I'm gonna leave this for these people, I'm gonna create this organization. You can keep going in this upward spiral. But understand, when we first started, I was not thinking about the legacy. I was thinking about like, what do I want? Like, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what I love doing. Right?
It's such a good point.
I was
It's
so
true.
disconnected.
We were just trying to focus on getting ourselves right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And when you get yourself right, you're now in a much more powerful position to help others.
Yeah.
And it all depends where you're at right now. It all depends what you want your life to stand for. And for me, all I can speak is about me. My family's my why. And I think before children, I never took life so seriously in that everything mattered, and after having children, it made me reevaluate everything. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to do, is to actually get a pen and paper and ask yourself. I did this yesterday actually at the park. I stopped what I was doing. I was listening to one of Bob's calls and he said, pause now for 3 minutes. And I did for the 3 minutes, and I started to write my wants again. This work never ends. This is not something you just do for 6 months and you're like, hooray, like a race and you're done. This is a lifetime. This is a lifestyle for us.
Absolutely. And Bob taught the power of repetition.
Yes.
Doing things over and over and over and over again. Like, repetition is the first law of learning, right? And you can hear something once, it can sound great, and then what? You just move on and continue in your program state, right? 95%, on average, roughly around 95% of your day is programmed, it's conditioned, okay? Only 5% is conscious, so 95% is unconscious.
And that's being generous too.
Yeah. Okay, so you're running your day through autopilot. So you can receive a new piece of information, entertain it. That's a nice idea. And then you continue with the way you were going before, right? Nothing changes. But if you keep hearing the same thing over and over and over and over again, keep writing the same thing over and over and over again, what happens is that starts to leave more of an impression on you. You start to entertain the idea even more. You start to see yourself maybe following through with the new actions, but change starts happening within you. And it could be gradual, or it could be an emotional impact. If you go to a Bob Proctor seminar, you can leave an emotional impact and you can change like this, right?
Actually, we had someone who had an emotional impact from our last event we did.
They did.
Bang, they
Gosh.
just, yeah.
It was amazing because, I spoke to him just the other day, and he said, after your event last month, in January, he said, I just quit my job and I got a new career. I'm like, wow, that's amazing, right? But he just made a change like that.
Yeah.
He said it was from an impact he had from the sharing. So, but this is what it's about. It's about repetition and putting yourself in a position where you can actually apply what you're learning, or apply the piece of information that you've received.
Absolutely. So it takes me on to another lesson that Bob's taught me, right? So let's go back to, maybe these key points, what we really want, let your mind go there. And then the idea that there is programming in the way, and that's what's got to change. And until you change your program, you can get the same results. Okay. So once we got that, understanding, then the next one is there's also a part of your programming that is your self-image, and that's the way you see yourself. And you can never outperform. Well, you can outperform it a little bit, but you're going to have to change it if you want permanent change in your life. And self-image to me is like really close to my heart, because I was that kind of person that would try really hard in everything I did, but I always felt like I came short. I never quite did get that award. I never did quite get that best mark that I wanted. So I had to work really, really hard, just in a sense to be average. And when I started to work on my self-image, it was literally like someone picked me up and started to put me where I wanted to be. The self-image is your concept of yourself, the way you believe about you, your beliefs, your worth, what you feel you're worth. And it's that deservability. It's a subconscious feeling of what you deserve. And if you want to create a jump in your quality of life that is way beyond where you are, it is essential that you change it, or you will go back. You might have a great month, or you may achieve something, and you spend the rest of your life trying to achieve it again. Self-image is like running a race with an elastic band, right? And you want to do so well, but there's this something stronger that keeps pulling you back. And I think so many people can resonate with that, whether it's in business, whether it's in their health, whatever it is. And if you're dealing with a limited concept, it's like having the fastest car in the world, but there's this governor on top of it, just slowing it right down. It doesn't matter how hard you push that pedal, right? So learning how to change your self-image and then actually doing it, to me, is one of the most magical things you can teach anybody.
Yeah, well, it really is just the perception you have of yourself, right? It's like you're wearing a mask of, this is who I am, right? It's not the real you, okay? Bob taught that your spiritual DNA is perfect, okay? So you have this image of perfection at the center of your consciousness, okay? But it's just covered with virus codes, or we could say it's covered with ideas of who you think you are.
And they are doubts and insecurities too.
And they could be
Good
good
things.
things. It could be that, an idea could be that you're very confident, or that you're very fit and healthy. It could be good. They're just ideas, okay? But the truth is perfection. And so what Bob really, in teaching us self-image, it's like, okay, well, who do I want to be right now? Like, to achieve my goal, what I'm working towards achieving, who is that person? Okay, what do they look like? Not physically, but what sort of habits they have? How do they conduct themselves? How do they show up in their life? And so you create this new concept of yourself to match the goal.
Yes.
And you're bringing yourself into alignment with that person. And that's such a powerful thing, because if you have, if you want to create greater success in life, but you have an insecure image, or if you have, low confidence, it's going to be very difficult for you, or you're going to find a lot of resistance when it comes to taking certain actions or making certain moves, right? Because your belief might not be at that level where you will take a bet on yourself.
Yes.
Right? You might be very scared and think, what, I'm better off just doing it slowly, or I'm better off, taking one little step at a time. It's up to you. But like, I look back at what we did going to Toronto, like we put everything on the line. Right? We put everything on, and it's not because, we saw ourselves as grand people, but we really wanted something, and we're like, you know what, we're just going to go after it.
Yeah.
And we've been doing that ever since. Like, we just, okay, if we want it, we're just going to go after it, and everything will work itself out as we go. Okay. But you have to have, or you want to have this image that, everything you need, you're supported by the whole universe. Like you got the whole universe behind you, because you are one with everything.
Yes.
You're one with everything. Like, that is a concept of yourself. As Bob says, you're God's highest form of creation. Okay. I believe we're built to win. There's no difference between me, you, and anyone else out there. The difference is the way we see ourselves.
Yes. And that is so liberating, and to me, such a gift when you understand it. Because then you feel like you're not in a competitive mode, you're not comparing mode, you're in creative mode. And that's what Bob taught us, that we're here to create. Professionals are the ones who create, amateurs compete. And if you want to be the creator of your life and the deliberate creator and actually manifesting this in your reality, then you must understand how these laws work, how to alter your self-image. Because the truth is, you may need to alter it again to reach to another level. But the beautiful thing about this, and I've like in just say witnessing you, it's permanent. It's like not you've changed your self-image from working long hours and wearing tradie clothes to literally wearing whatever the heck you want. You feel like wearing a suit today. You could be wearing your gym gear today, but you don't have to be anywhere at a certain time. You work the hours you want and you're raising your kids with me all the time. It's a different life than what we were living night and day.
It's funny because I was getting ready for today. I was getting dressed. I'm like, okay, do I get casual? I'm like, you know, if I'm going to do some sort of tribute for Bob, I got to wear a suit and a tie.
Yeah.
Bob was always in a suit and a tie. So anyway, but that's exactly it's an image. Is how do you want to see yourself, right? How do you want to align with the person who's achieved the goal that you have set for yourself? And so Bob had an image that he talks about how the way he walks is a reflection of a friend's dad all those years ago.
Yeah.
He used to see his friend's dad walking up and down the street, and he had a certain walk to him, and Bob just adopted that walk.
Yeah. He literally said he walks like that person's dad.
He added that to his self-image, right? So you can really adopt your image from other people, you know, and you can keep upgrading it.
Yes.
Don't have to stop.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, I want to include this. I want to be fitter and healthier. Okay, so you implement that into your image. In fact, I've seen people that we've coached that were dieting, exercising, doing all these things, trying to get their body into physical shape. And they were struggling. Nothing was working until we got into the self-image concept. They started recreating the way they saw themselves internally. So it's the internal perception that you have of yourself. And then, like this one person I think of, she lost 10 kilos in 10 weeks. She didn't change her diet. She didn't change the exercise because she was already working on that. But she changed the spiritual side, the internal. Okay. And when that changed, the body just followed, because the body is just an instrument of the mind. Okay. It will follow.
And that's one of the most valuable lessons as well. Like having this health background that I have as a naturopath, I felt that I was missing something. I would be treating people and someone would get better and follow it, and someone wouldn't get better. And I thought, and they're still following it. And I'm like, what's missing? And it was their belief, their self-image, you know, and so that's the difference between everything. You know, we probably hear it all the time, that mindset is the difference between everything in life, and it really is. It truly is. Like, we're watching our children grow up, and having this knowledge and awareness helps us help them in the most empowering ways. You know, it is so beautiful because they get it so much easier and so much quicker. There's less programming, years of programming. So it just puts you in such an empowering position when you do understand these concepts. It makes you feel confident about how to live your life. It makes you feel confident about, it's like having a rule book. You know how they say there's no rules with life, but when you do understand these concepts and lessons, it is like you do have a guide and you follow it. And as you follow it, your life gets better, and then it gets better, and it gets better. And the only time it won't get better is if you stop following it. So to me, it is such a small price to pay, which is not even a price to pay. It's just that investment in myself on a daily. And we keep reaping, and you can keep reaping. So the question is, like, where do you want to be? If anything is possible for you, what life do you want to live? And how do you want to feel about yourself? What results do you want to have? You know, I messaged Bob actually. It was last year. And I asked him, I said, Bob, you know, can you give me 3 key things to help anyone go from a failure image to a winning image? You know, and he wrote back. It was a nice, beautiful message. That idea alone, like that lesson alone, has changed my life again and again. And you can go from a failure image to creating a winning image. You absolutely can. So if you ever feel those limiting thoughts that come up of what you can't do, and they can but you can't, and you feel that doomness, that's the program. That's not you. And you can change that into a winning image where you feel successful. You attract the success. In fact, you cannot consistently attract the success you want without consistently feeling like that winner. So it is a winner's image.
It is. And I think you can even become hyper aware of it by just listening to your inner conversations. Like, how do you talk to yourself? How do you treat yourself? Are you, I just keep hearing Bob say, I'm really good to myself. I love myself. He kisses himself, right?
Yeah.
So just think of your inner dialogue and those inner conversations you have with yourself. That's going to tell you, where your image is at. How do you treat yourself? Even something as simple, and something I heard him recommend many years ago was he told someone, just go and get your nails done. Go and get your nails done once every 2 weeks. And that was a challenge for this person. Like, their self-worth came up, but that was where that person's self-worth was at that time, right? And then they formed the habit of doing that, and it became just a normal and natural thing, but also increased their income. It increased their income because their self-worth went up.
That was something Bob always did. He always encouraged us to go and have that thing, to go and do that thing, to go at the front of the plane, not at the back of the plane. Like, remember, he would really make a point, and he actually said he did that with his kids. He said, I made that effort that they'd go to the restaurant, they'd go to the nicer place, because it was leaving an impression, and it's raising your self-worth. In other words, it's raising your standard. And oh my God, I love that, because we deserve, if we truly believe that we are divine and we are perfect and created in God's image, we would treat ourselves like we are. And that's something that I remember even in Toronto, there was a jeweler, I remember that, where the events would be, and he would get everyone to go to the jeweler, and he sold so much for the jeweler, right? And someone that worked in the company, I remember she shared how uncomfortable it was, and she really wanted something, but then the price was like, and then Bob would just encourage her to get it and do it and get it. And because he knew that what it was going to do on such a deeper level, it was so much more than just buying it for that moment.
It wasn't a superficial thing.
No, it was deep. And, this was how he transformed everyone in the company, even the car, right? Remember? Someone wanted to drive the same car as Bob, and they went to the dealership and they started looking for the lower models, right? Because the one Bob was driving was the top of the range. And after a while, Bob had let this person go and justify, and he's like, right, you done? Do you want the good one now? And he went and took them to the best. The best was what Bob was about.
Yeah, he was. He was about never settling.
Yeah.
You never settle for something you don't want. And this can be challenging. This can actually challenge a paradigm, right? It really can. Like you gave that example of this particular person. I know the story and I know who it is. But I know this person, once they purchased that car, because it was way out of their comfort zone, right? It was way out of their comfort zone. It was way out of their price range of what they wanted to spend. But they still followed through and purchased it. Bob waited there until he signed the contract for that car. That person's income multiplied.
Yeah.
His income multiplied. Why? Because his self-worth went up.
Yeah.
And there's also a greater need to pay off the car. So naturally, when there's the need there, the universe supplies, right? You got to remember there is one source of supply. Your income is not coming from the company you work for, even your company, or not the job or anything else. Like the income is coming through those sources or through those streams, but it's coming from one infinite source of supply. And your needs will always be met. You just have to keep walking in faith and going after what you want.
Yeah.
You know, I remember asking Bob something about saving because I was reading something Napoleon Hill's. Napoleon Hill was uh, in one of his books. He's talking about the habit of saving, and so I asked Bob about it, and he messaged me back saying, he said, "Why would I save when I can get what I want like this from the universe?" Right. So his belief was, and I believe in saving, so I'm not telling you guys not to save, but he had such an unwavering belief that everything will always be supplied for him. Like that's how strong his belief was.
Yeah, it reminds me of the story, you know, when he used to tell this at the seminar when the creditors were wanting the money, you know, I think I had to come up with like 50,000 within like 24 hours. And this was back, like this isn't in 2020, this is decades ago. So 50,000 back then was like a decent amount, maybe being like 500,000. So trying to come up with that kind of money in 24 hours. And he had his brother working, right? He said, and then there was someone else. He went and bought a brand new car that day. He just went out and just went shopping. And he's like, I trust. Like, and they came back and they had sorted it all out. They were all stressing. But that was the kind of person I guess he was. He kept staying loyal to that idea, trusting that the universe was always going to have
He's back.
his back. And it always did.
And I found the same has always been for us.
It has.
You know,
It has always been like
I've
that.
had this affirmation since we first started this business back in 2015. Well, we started end of 2014, but everything I need will always be there when I need it. Right. And that is my affirmation, that the universe has got my back. So as long as I keep going after what I want and I keep following the laws, I'm always going to be looked after.
Yes.
And it's always been the case. In over 7 years, it's never let me down.
And this is when we start living more from the inside than the outside. And it's going to require that faith. It's going to require, this is where I was going to bring the next point of discomfort, the terror barrier, you know, that Bob always taught us and talked about, was there's going to be this discomfort when you're going after what you want. It's all well and good in the safety when you're not acting on it to dream big, but then the rubber's going to hit the road, right? And you're going to have to act on these ideas, and you're really going into energy that feels, it's a new energy. So it's unfamiliar, and in the unfamiliar, it's uncomfortable. So where there's discomfort, there's a great reward, you know. And I just had this memory when he wrote the book You Were Born Rich, right? If you've got it, you'll know what I'm talking about. He wrote the whole thing, and he was in the back of a cab, and he left it there. Had no name, it had no contact details. It was gone. And he literally, the whole book, and he
It was
got
written.
home.
It was in a folder.
Yeah, it was, yeah, all these sheets. And he got home, and his wife asked him, Linda asked, like, aren't you upset? He's like, well, if it's this bad, it's got to be this good. Right? Like, he always had that attitude of, you know, if something's really uncomfortable or if something's really not great on the other side, but you have to go to the other side mentally.
There's a huge reward there.
Yeah, there's a huge gift. And he, you know, and that was where his attitude would be, well, it's going to be even better now, you know.
And he wrote the book, international bestseller, or
There
New
you
York
go.
Times bestseller, actually.
So maybe that other version, and I believe he would agree with this, wasn't that as good as this one. And that's why. And this is what we're talking about when it comes to attitude. And one of the biggest things Bob taught us was to stay in control of our attitude and not react to the outside world, right? Because it's in the sense that we, even observing children reacting to everything, we've got to unlearn that reaction and learn how to respond. And that elevates you into the plane of creation.
Well, when you're in control of your attitude, really, it's the only thing you can control, right?
Yeah,
if you think of the way attitude is taught, it's a combination of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. Okay, and that is the whole of who you are, right? It's your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And so if you get if your feelings and your thoughts are out of alignment with what you want, what are you going to be attracting into life? Because it's action reaction. So he says, if you stay in control of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, you're going to see your results start changing in life, right? But you don't try and control other people. You just stay in control of your attitude, and you respond rather than react
Absolutely.
to the outside circumstances. So you can start creating new circumstances and results for yourself. So, attitude is such a big idea. I remember once we had this, I was going through some challenging times, and I sent him a message. It was on Skype, and he sent a message back saying, "It's all in your attitude, Matthew." He said, "Just keep working on your attitude every day." Right? He was so big on it. It was such a huge idea.
Absolutely. And do you mind grabbing the wooden block that he gave us? I love this because these are 3 golden lessons that helps you stay in control of your attitude. And that's the thing with Bob. He always thought of ways to help solidify this material even more. So, the coins, we've got them still, the respond and react coins. The smooth side is respond. If you ask Olive when he was little, he's recorded a video for Bob explaining how the coin works. If your attitude's rough and you're reacting, you're on the rough side of life. You're going to attract rough stuff. But if you're on that smooth side and you're staying in that pleasant, grateful energy, right, you're going to keep attracting more pleasant, grateful things to be grateful for. And so this was another idea that he adopted from Michael Beckwith. So whenever you run into any challenge, whenever you run into anything that you're like, how is this a good thing, right? These are 3 lessons he taught us. Number 1, it is what it is. Accept it. Okay? It is what it is. It's either going to control you or you're going to control it. Okay? So that's with anything.
That's so powerful.
The next one, harvest the good. There's good in everything. Seek and you will find. But you got to look for it. It's not just like, oh, well, there's good, but you've actually then got to dig it out. You got to focus on it. And this is going to require your perception. You have to look for what's good. Like in the case of when Bob lost his whole book, well, the other one's going to be much better then, and that's what this is about. Number 3, forgive the rest. Forgive means to let go of completely, to abandon, release it. This is the forgiveness for something he taught us so much, didn't he? To send love, to let go. Because if you're holding on to something, it owns you. And here's one of the lessons that I'll never forget was that he openly shared that in his company, there was someone managing the money that actually took what was probably worth about $1 million today. And they pretty much took it from Bob. And everyone kept saying to Bob, you got to sue them. You got to sue them. And he believes in the law. And this is the kind of person Bob is, right? He's still here, right? And he didn't sue them, but he had to forgive them. He sent them love and let it go. And he thought they obviously must have needed it more than I did. That's the kind of thinking, right? And this is the difference between fighting against energy and keeping that energy in your reality and forgiving. Now, years later, he said he was driving down and it was snowing. It was really cold. And he saw someone carrying a box with all their belongings. And it was that person. And Bob stopped and asked them if they wanted to get in, if they wanted a lift. And they kept refusing to get in, didn't they? And they had lost their job. They were divorced, like rock bottom. And Bob still had the heart to try and help that person. And he ended up giving him money to catch a cab, and this was the kind of person that he always was. There's an integrity, a consistency, and that brushed off on us working closely with him.
That's the thing that I love about Bob. He didn't just teach this, like he lived this. It was a part of who he was. Like it was, it was just Bob. right? He followed the laws, he worked in harmony with them. And that was such a beautiful thing. When you're in his presence, you just knew that everything he was teaching you was not from something he read in a book. It was his experience. And that's why it's taught by stories. Like he always had a story or a lesson through his experience for whatever he was teaching. And that's when someone's actually living the material.
Yeah.
And that's why he got to where he got to, because it wasn't intellectual, it was emotional. And he was so passionate about helping people all over the world to understand this and apply it in their life because of what he experienced. And so passionate.
He didn't want anyone to struggle. He wanted people to be doing well in their life. And that's what resonated so much with us, was just wanting to thrive, wanting to have it all and not feel like it's not happening for you, and that's the cards you got dealt with. And I think his story in itself is so inspiring, where he didn't even finish school. He was always losing. He lost how many jobs? He said he lost 2 jobs in one day.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a record.
I don't know how that's possible, but he's done it.
And, so he was always getting in trouble, so to speak, but it was because he wasn't meant to fit in that model, right? And even then, it's so fascinating, because with now even teaching our kids at school, if they don't finish school, that doesn't mean they're not successful. Like, he taught us so much by being that example. And there were trials and tribulations, yes. He shares, he's shared some of them, like I had shared before about someone taking $1 million and things that didn't work out, and but he always kept going, and that was one of the things he kept telling us.
In fact, that's what he was just, when you sign your book, it's right, keep going, right? Because it's such a huge thing for him. But I think knowing this material and applying in your life doesn't make you immune from what appears to be negative things happening in your life.
Yeah.
Right? Like in situations like you just explained, where someone took a large sum of money from him, it could appear as something that's quite negative. But his attitude towards that was so positive, right? So positive. Why? Because he had a deeper understanding and he had a deeper faith that everything was still working out for him.
Always.
And it was probably, might not be able to see it right now that was what he needed, but it was leading him in a new path, or leading him along a path that's going to help him create what his vision is.
And I just think of Bob, and he stayed so loyal to his vision. And even people in the company, he would say, like, would try and talk him out of something, and he stayed loyal to his vision. And then everyone else saw it, and that's what a leader is, right? A true leader. And I think, just to finish off and finish this tribute to Bob, and we are diving so much deeper than we ever have. Like, it feels like we've gone to another level ourselves, and the impact he's made. We have the blessing and the privilege to have all these years of material that we are just continuing to dive into. And we have our academy. And at the moment, we are teaching Thinking into Results. We're teaching the lessons. And if you've been coached by us before, we are not the same coaches that we were before, because we keep applying this, and we keep elevating, and we bring everyone up with us. And it is an incredible, incredible community. But the key is about the application. So if you are done playing small, and if you are done walking in your shadow, and you are ready to step into being the star of your life, then this is your opportunity right now to reach out to us. You can send a message, you can send an email, you can reach out. There's plenty of ways you can reach out. But reach out. Like, that's the first step. That's exactly what we did all these years ago. We just said, well, what the heck? It's not going to cost anything to have a conversation.
You know, that was exactly what happened in 2014 when you we saw something on YouTube where Bob was promoting an event that was coming up in Toronto, and here we were like thinking how we're going to pay our mortgage, and she inquired about this event that was coming up, and I'm thinking, well, we're obviously not going to be able to go, but a call was booked in, and okay, just take the next step and find out a little bit about it. But you know, a week later, we're in Toronto. A week later, like, it was amazing. That changed the direction of our lives. It literally did. And I'm so glad that you booked it, because you didn't allow our circumstances at that time to hold you back from booking that call. Right. And I'll be forever grateful that we did have that call, and for our mentor Rash, who helped us in that transition to getting there. But it really is a matter of making a decision, you know, which is a huge lesson that Bob had taught us. If you really want something, you don't look at your circumstances to make a decision. You ask yourself, I said the only prerequisite to making a decision is, do you really want it? He said, want is the only prerequisite to making a decision.
Yeah.
So, you know, as Nat was saying, if this is something that resonates with you, if you want some guidance, if you want coaching, if you want to understand these laws and apply them into your life, not just know them, but understand and apply them to create the new results for yourself, achieve your goals, we would be more than happy to help you.
Absolutely. We know what it's like to feel like all the circumstances are stacked against you and still make it happen. So give yourself at least that worth, value yourself enough to reach out. Like, that's the first thing you can do is, can you help me? Or, you know, and that's what having a coach and a mentor is about. You know, we have coaches to specialize in certain things, and to have someone helping you with your mindset, to me, is worth its weight in gold, because everything you attract is going to be direct reflection of your mindset. So to me, it is a no-brainer to keep investing in upgrading it. You know, I remember that in 2014, I was standing against our fireplace, and and I remember Arash had said, if you guys keep going, what's going to change? If you keep doing the things you're doing. And I said, nothing. And he said, how does that make you feel if you stay in that same spot? You know, and it was literally so uncomfortable to be in the same spot. It was also really uncomfortable to go and bet on myself, because that's what it's about. Coaching is about betting on you. The minute you go and bet on you, you've already started the process of raising your self-worth, because you're saying, hell yeah, I'm worth this. Hell yeah, my dreams are worth it. My life is worth it.
But I think even more, it's having someone that believes in you more than you believe in yourself at that time.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, Bob used to always say, if you don't believe it yet, just adopt my belief for now.
Yeah.
Just adopt it. And just do exactly what I say until you find out that I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about. He said, and I know what I'm talking about. Right. So, you know, it's about just giving yourself a chance.
Yeah.
Give yourself a chance, because, you know, and not everyone is in a difficult spot, or not everyone's back's against the wall. But if you're getting the same results as you were last year or the year before, you're going sideways in a way. Not sideways, because I don't think nothing ever goes sideways. I think we're either moving forward or not. Okay, we're going backwards. Like Bob says, create or disintegrate. So if you're not seeing an upward trend with your results, if you're not creating new results for yourself and not achieving your goals, you might be comfortable, but you still want to achieve more, reach out.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because not everyone that we're coaching is struggling.
No, not
it's
at
not
all.
about, you don't have to be struggling to receive coaching. You know, like, we've coached multi-millionaires before, you know, taking their business from 1 million to 7 million within 12 months. Like, it's not, you know, it's not for people who are just having a hard time. Okay.
Yeah, because the truth is, your life can keep getting better. You know, life is meant to keep getting better. Can we understand it that way? And what you've got to do is, if you want to keep up with God's plan for you, then you're going to have to keep your mindset really high quality and remove the limitation, remove those false concepts of yourself, remove those false ideas that are habitual, that have been passed down, God knows for how many generations. That's why you have an opportunity, you have a gift, you have a privilege now to be the one that breaks that mold. And I see that as such a huge honor to be that person. And the people you love the most will be the greatest beneficiaries of the work that you do. No one can do this work for us. Like, I can't even do it for you, right? You can't do it for me. I can't do it for you, but you can do it, and do it with people that support you, believe in you, understand this, and help you get out of that program when it kicks in, right? It's the best chance you're going to have of succeeding. Success leaves clues. Follow the clues. And so if you're ready, reach out. We are always about helping. That is a backbone Bob passed on to us so deeply. This is about serving.
In fact, I'll never forget, in our first training with Bob, he said, if you want to succeed in this business or any other business, he said, just fall in love with helping people. And I was like I was so excited, because I'm like, that's who I am already, you know, but it just amplified it.
Yeah.
You know, and we love helping people. We love this material, and we're going to keep teaching it. We're going to continue Bob's legacy. We're going to keep expanding on our own to keep reaching more people. And if, like I said, if it resonates with you and you want our help, we'll be more than happy to help you.
Absolutely. You're meant to live the life that you want. And I think that's the least we can do in this lifetime.
Okay.
Well,
thank you for joining us.
Sending all our love to you, and catch you guys again soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I can see clear.